Oh, hello YouTube. This is one knowing Catcher Machine. I'm back again with another live video. In today's live video, I want to do something a little different. I want to speak on a story that I found out about years ago in my teenage years. And I'm shocked that I knew nothing about this story way before seeing the movie. The first time I seen the movie, my sister several years ago had the DVD. Like I said, never heard the story, never heard the name Lena Baker up until just seeing the movie. And by the way, Tashina Arnold did an amazing job portraying and telling the story of Lena Baker. But Lena Baker, who was born in June 8, 1900, and died March 5th, 1945, was an African American maid in Cuthbert, Georgia, United States, who was convicted of capital murder of a white man, Ernest Knight. She was executed by the state of Georgia in 1945. Baker was the only woman in Georgia to be executed by electrocution. The slaying and execution came during the decades-long period of state suppression of United States, excuse me, not United States, of civil rights of black citizens in white dominated Georgia. The state had disenfranchised black people since the turn of the century and imposed legal racial segregation and second class status on them. At the time of the trial, a local newspaper reported that Baker was held as a slave woman by night and that she shot him in self defense during the struggle. In 2005, 60 years after her execution, state of Georgia granted Baker a full and unconditional pardon. A biography was published about Baker in 2001, and it was adapted into a feature film, The Lena Baker Story, in 2008, circling the events of her life and execution. Uh, Tashina Arnold portrayed Lena Baker. Lena Baker was born June 8, 1900, to a family of sharecroppers arrayed near Cuthbert, Georgia. Her family, which included three siblings, moved to a county seat when she was a child. As a youth, she and her siblings all worked as farm laborers. She chopped cotton for a farmer named J.A. Cox. By the 1940s, Baker was the mother of three children and worked as a maid to support her family. In 1944, Baker started working for Ernest Knight, an older white man who had broken his leg. He owned a gristmill, and upon sexually assaulting Lena multiple times, he would keep her there in prison for days at a time and near slavery. Knight's son and townspeople disliked their relationship and tried to end it through threatening Baker. One night, an argument between the two ensued, during which Knight threatened Baker with an iron bar. As she tried to escape, they struggled over his pistol, and she shot and killed him. She immediately reported the incident and said she acted in self-defense. Lena Baker was charged with capital murder and stood trial on August 14, 1944. The trial was presided over by Judge William Two Gun Womill, who kept a pair of pistols in view on his judicial bench. At her trial, Baker testified that Knight forced her to go with him on a Saturday evening of April 29th. The town disliked their sexual relationship, and the county sheriff had warned her to stay away from Knight or risk being sent to jail. But she was afraid of Knight's physical abuse. He had forced relations on her. His son had also beat her on another occasion, warning her to stay away from his father. Baker said she got away from Knight that night and slept in the woods. As she returned to Cuthbert the next morning, Knight cornered her, taking her to a grist mill and locked her in. When Knight returned, Baker told him she was leaving. The corner Baker, they tussled over a pistol after he threatened her with an armbar. She immediately reported it to J.A. Cox, a county coroner who had previously employed her. The all-white, all-male jury rejected Baker's plea of self-defense and convicted her of capital murder by the end of the first day of the trial. This charge carried an automatic death sentence. In addition to legal racial segregation imposed by white-dominated Georgia legislature, it had disenfranchised most black people since the turn of the century, which disqualified them from jury service. After Baker's court appointed counsel W.L. Ferguson filed an appeal. He dropped Baker as a client. Governor Ellis Arnwell granted Baker a 60-day reprieve on that the bar of pardons and parole will review the case, but in January 1945, it denied Baker clemency. She was transferred to Georgia State Prison at Reedsville on February 23, 1945. What I did in self-defense, or I would have been killed myself. Where I was, I could not overcome. God has forgiven me. I have nothing against anyone. I pick God for Mr. Pritchett, and he has been good to me. The hell? I'm ready to go. I am one in the number. I'm ready to meet my God. I have a very strong conscience. Baker's last words. She was executed on March 5th, 1945. She was buried in an unmarked grave beyond Mount Vermont Baptist Church, where she had sung in the choir. In 1998, members of a congregation arranged for a simple headstone for her grave. That year, 2 articles were published about her case. In 2003, descendants of Baker's family began to mark the anniversary of her death and Mother's Day at her grave site. That year, Baker's grandnephew, Roosevelt Curry, requested official pardon from the state. aided by Georgia-based prison ad, what advocacy group, prison and jail project. What the hell? In 2005, the parole board granted Baker a full and con- constitutional pardon. Commentators have suggested that in 1945, the Board of Pardons and Parole could have lowered the charge to voluntary manslaughter, which would have carried an average 15-year sentence and saved her life. In 2001, Leela Bond Phillips, a professor at Andrew College, published a biography titled The Lena Baker Story, which was adapted to the feature film of the same name in 2008. Tashina Arnold played the role of Lena Baker. Did anyone know who Lena Baker was, or have anyone ever heard of this story about this woman, Lena Baker? It's a real sad story. Hope and Redemption. The Lena Baker Story is a 2008 historical film. It is an adaptation adaptation of the book by Lena Bond Phillips, which chronicles the life and death of Lena Baker, an African American woman in Georgia who was convicted of 1945 of a capital murder and was the only woman to be executed by electric chair. She was posthumously pardoned by the state in 2005. The film was written for the screen and directed by Ralph Wilcox and stars Shana Arnold and Peter Coyle as an opening night premiere film for the Atlanta Film Festival. It sold out. The film was also screened at the Cannes Film Festival on May 16, 2008. The film chronicles the life of Lena Baker, born to a sharecropper family who later worked as a maid in a small county town to support her three children. Convicted in 1945 of capital murder by all white male jury, Baker was the only woman in Georgia to be executed by electric chair. Baker acted in self-defense and it failed showing of her employer, Ernest Knight. During the struggle, he was an abusive drunk who had forced the 44-year-old woman into a sexual relationship and sometimes held her at his place against her will. She was posthumously pardoned in 2005. Then it has the cast of the movie. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, be notified, and I'll get back to you on the next video.